The Euros are here with 24 nations descending upon Germany for the next month to see who wins the 17th edition of the European Championships. Now, Matchday 1 is set to kick off on Friday with Germany hosting Scotland before the rest of the action gets started later this weekend and into next week. Now, I've already broken down some of the top favorites and contenders to win the trophy in another video earlier this week, which you can find linked at the end of this video. So now it's time to get into some game-by-game breakdowns from Matchday 1 and some of my top picks and parlays over the next few days. Now, if you're looking for a sportsbook to get a great bonus at for the Euros, use my link signupexpert.com/shredthespread, which I'll drop in the description and the comments of this video, and you can see all of the best sportsbooks for your location. Now, from there, you can claim the best bonus bet sports betting promo codes and risk-free bonus bets from a wide range of online legal sportsbooks to boost your bankroll heading in to the Euros. So let's get on to match day 1 here and include our thoughts on some possible picks from each game, finally come up with a few parlays to target over match day 1 at the end of this video to make some of these bets a little more manageable as we have 12 games to get through. The Euros get started with Germany and Scotland on Friday. Germany is 7-2-1 versus Scotland, but there's been no meetings since 2015 between these teams. As hosts, Germany hasn't played in a competitive game since going back to December 1st, 2022, in the World Cup, where they went 1-1-1 and failed to advance. Now, a record of 6-3-6 since is nothing to get too excited about for this once a great nation in soccer, but they are still the third favorites to lift the trophy in the Euro 2024 odds. But they will come in off of a 2-0 win over France, a 2-1 win over Netherlands, a 0-0 draw with Ukraine, and a 2-1 win over Greece in 2024 friendlies so far. It's Scotland's 4th Euros, but they never made it out of the group stage in the past. In qualifying, they can be proud of being second in their group at 5-2-1, and they even did beat Spain 2-0. But of the qualified teams for Euro 2024, they had the second worst XG per game in qualifying, only above Albania. Recently, they drew Finland 2-2, and they beat Gibraltar 2-0 last week, which will give them some confidence, but still, a win over Gibraltar is nothing to get too excited about. That's their only win in their last 9 games, making the Scots one of the coldest teams entering this tournament. And that win over Gibraltar, well, Gibraltar is 203rd ranked in the FIFA rankings. They've not won in 14 games, and they lost 14-0 to France last year. So a win over them is nothing too exciting. Germany is a hard team to trust, but I still think they should get the win here on their home pitch in the first game, and I think they could at least score 2 goals in this opening game. Now, that won't return great odds at -188 for Germany to win and score at least 2 goals, but you certainly could add them on the Asian handicap as well. Germany to win by 2 goals, that would be -113. Now, if you consider the fact that Germany has not kept a clean sheet in quite some time in tournament games, certainly if you think Scotland can get on the score sheet as well, then Germany to win and both teams to score would get you some good value as well. But for a bet in this game, let's go Germany -1.5 on the Asian handicap. On Saturday, it's Hungary and Switzerland in the Euros. Now, since 2002, these teams have only met twice, and Switzerland won 3-2 and 5-2 in 2016-17 World Cup qualifiers. If you're not a regular follower of Hungarian football, they're actually one of the hottest teams coming into this tournament right now. In their last 20 games in all competitions, they are 12-6-2 with just 1 loss in their past 16 games. They've scored in 11 straight games and in 18 of those 20 games as well, while keeping clean sheets in 9. Now, that includes a run of 14 straight games going undefeated before a 2-1 friendly loss to the Republic of Ireland last week. Now, during that time, they've beaten England 4-0 at Wembley. They have a 1-1 draw with Germany and a 1-0 win over Germany coming in the Nations League. After losing 2-0 to Italy, next in that tournament, they went on that 14-match undefeated streak. Now, that was versus some lower profile sides, but it's still an impressive run for the Hungarians. Switzerland has been in good form the last 2 years as well. They're 11-7-4. The positive, they have just 1 defeat in their last 14 games. But the negative for Switzerland, they have only 2 wins in 8 as they've drawn 5 of their past 8 games, and they come in off a 1-1 draw with Austria. And there have been several unders cashing of late in Switzerland games with under 2.5 bets going 6-1 in their past 7. But the Swiss have still scored a goal themselves in 18 of 22 recent games. And alongside France, the Swiss are the only European team to have reached the knockout stages in each of the last 5 major international tournaments, so they will be expected and favored to advance. Now, I'm torn in this game between perhaps a both teams to score, or an under, or a draw. I think this could be a tight game, so let's go draw as the best bet between Hungary and Switzerland on Saturday. One of the best matches on paper here in the Matchday 1 fixtures is Spain and Croatia. After winning the Nations League, Spain went on to win 6 more games before a 1-0 loss to Colombia in March. Now, it was a 3-3 draw with Brazil, 5-0 win over Andorra, and 5-1 win over Northern Ireland since that time. La Roja are 10-1-1 in their past 12, and they've scored multiple goals in 5 of their last 6. Croatia comes in on a high, having just beaten one of the tournament favorites, Portugal, 2-1 in a friendly on Saturday. That's 5 straight wins for the Croats. One friendly was 0-0 though, and it went to PKs, where they've outscored their opponents 12-3 in that time. Now, if you go back to that 5-3 extra time loss to Spain in the last Euros, since that time, Croatia has been a hot team. They're 25-7-5, with the only losses coming to Austria, Argentina, Spain in PKs, Turkey, and Wales. So generally some of the stronger sides out there. Recently, these teams played last summer in the Nations League, drawing 0-0 and Spain winning on PKs. In 2021, round of 16 at the Euros, Spain won 5-3 in extra time, while Croatia won 3-2 in the 2018 Nations League, and Spain 6-0 in the 2018 Nations League as well. Spain has won 3 of the past 5 meetings between these teams, but Croatia has only lost against Spain once in regulation over those past 5 meetings, and that last game between them was 0-0. Now, this game to me looks close. This could be a 1-1, possibly making a bet on both teams to score being an option at around minus 110 odds, or maybe an under at minus 138. Now, if your sportsbook gives you a prop like a team to have the most possession, you can basically bet this blindly for any Spain game in this tournament, or really ever. The odds might not be great because they always have most possession, but if you are looking to up maybe a same game parlay and include it in there as an option, Spain has held the possession edge in 136 straight games that they've played in all competitions. So that's just a little extra tidbit, possibly a bet you could throw into a same game parlay or a parlay. Let's make the best bet on Saturday between Spain and Croatia, under 2.5 goals, and expect a close one between these teams in the group of death. The 2 other teams in the group of death are Italy and Albania. Italy comes in on a 6-match unbeaten run with just 1 loss in 11 games, that being 3-1 to England in qualifying. They won the Euros and they had a 37-match undefeated run, but then failed to qualify for the World Cup since that time, since the Euros win, and they are 15-9-8 since. Their recent games have been tight: a 1-0 win, 0-0, 2-0 win, 2-1 win, and 0-0 draw. But Bosnia and Herzegovina, Turkey, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Ukraine are okay teams, but not great opponents as well. Still, it's clean sheets in 4 of 5 for Italy. They have scored the goal in 12 of 14. After going winless in 4, Albania comes in off a 3-0 and 3-1 friendly wins over Liechtenstein and Azerbaijan. Certainly lower opponents, but in their past 12 games, Albania, they have scored in 9, and they have a win over Poland and a win and a draw versus Czechia, 2 teams that are also in this tournament. Italy won 3-1 in a 2022 friendly between these teams, and other games between them have been 1-0, 2-0, and 1-0, but these games, recent games, did come in 2017 and 2014, but you can see that when they have played, they've generally been close games. Now, not many are expecting an Italian repeat in Luciano Spalletti's debut as manager for Italy in a major tournament, with many new faces in the lineup. Only 5 of the 11 players who started that final in their Euros win are back here. There's no Immobile, Insigne, Bonucci, Chiellini. None of those, some of these household names are now gone. There aren't a lot of obvious scoring threats in this Italian side outside of possibly Gianluca Scamacca for Atalanta. Now, in fact, their top international scorer only has 9 goals right now. In recent World Cup qualifying, no Italian had more than 2 goals. In Euros qualifying, midfielder David Frattesi led the way with just 3 goals. But then if we look over to the Albanian side, they qualified as just one of 3 teams that had a negative expected goal differential throughout qualifying. Italy certainly are favorites. They certainly could pull out a win, or this could be close. I think our options on this game could be an under 2.5 at minus 135. If you wanted the parlay piece, under 3.5 to be extra safe, minus 380. Or if you thought Italy was going to get the win in a close game, Italy to win and under 4 goals would be minus 110. Certainly an Italy win and under 3 goals would pay you more. If we just want to be close here, let's go under 2.5 between Italy and Albania at minus 135 odds in this Euros prediction. Continuing on with our Euros Matchday 1 predictions, it's Poland and Netherlands. Poland was only 3rd in their qualifying group, and they qualified after beating Wales on penalties in the playoffs. This despite having 0 shots on target over the whole 120 minutes of that game. Now, in recent friendlies, they beat Ukraine in PKs after drawing 0-0 on Friday, and they beat Turkey 2-1 recently on Monday. That Turkey win, though, came at a cost, with captain Robert Lewandowski suffering a torn biceps femoris which will see him miss at least Poland's first game, this game against Netherlands. That makes Poland 5-0 in their past 5 games and 6-2-0 in their past 8, with only 2 losses in 13. But those did come against Albania. Those wins, those did come against Albania and Moldova. The losses, that being said. The Dutch warmed up with games versus Canada, a 4-0 win, and Iceland, also a 4-0 win. Now, while they've filled the net recently with 19 goals in 5 games, they have struggled versus other tournament teams since going out in PKs versus Argentina in the World Cup. Piling up 18 goals versus Gibraltar, Scotland, Canada, and Iceland is great, but they've also lost 2-1 to Germany in those last 5 games as well. Since the World Cup loss, they have losses versus France, Croatia, Italy, France again, and then Germany recently. So when it's been some of the top teams, they've not fared as well. These teams have several Nations League meetings between them in recent years. In 2022, it was 2-2 and then 2-0 Netherlands. In 2020, it was 1-0 and 2-1 Netherlands as well. The Netherlands have actually not lost to Poland in any of the last 12 meetings, and that goes all the way back to 1979. Poland may be a mainstay in the Euros, but if you're looking to bet Poland to win a Euros game, it's rarely a good proposition, as they only have 2 wins in their 14 all-time Euros games. Poland might score. They've done so in 7 of 8 and in 13 of 15 recent games, but they are missing Lewandowski, and the Dutch have given up just 1 goal in 7 games. So to me, this looks like a great parlay piece, Netherlands to win, or if you wanted just on its own, Netherlands to win and to score over 1.5 goals at minus 110 odds. Next in the Matchday 1 previews, it's Slovenia and Denmark. The Danes made a deep run in the last Euros. They lost 2-1 to England in extra time in the 2020/2021 Euros in the semifinals, but they were 0-1-2 and 4th in Group D at the 2022 World Cup. There are 2 recent meetings in qualifying between these teams, so they should know each other well. It was a 1-1 draw and 2-1 for Denmark when they met during qualifying in 2024. Denmark has a 0-0 draw and 2-0, 2-1, and 3-1 wins. They have just 1 loss in 12, and they've scored in 12 of 14 games, but in allowing a goal in 9 of 14 games, both teams to score bets have also gone 8-6. Slovenia may be one of the long shots overall and in this group, but they do have only 2 losses in their past 21 games, and they have scored in 12 straight and in 19 of 20. Emerging talent, 21-year-old Benjamin Sesko also had 14 goals for RB Leipzig this season and will give them some scoring threat there. Yes, there aren't many top opponents listed in that time in that impressive Slovenia run, but they still do have draws with Serbia, wins over Romania, USA, and most notably even Portugal 2-0 in a friendly in March. Let's go both teams to score between Slovenia and Denmark for this best bet. Is it finally coming home? Well, if it is, it's going to have to start with a win likely here against Serbia in Serbia and England when they match up in Matchday 1 Euros action. There's only been 1 meeting between these teams, that being a 2003 friendly won 2-1 by England. I wouldn't expect Serbia to even that record up here, as they've been in mixed form coming into the Euros at 4-2-5. With Aleksandar Mitrovic and Dusan Vlahovic, Serbia will always be goal dangerous, but in their last 17 games, Serbia scored in 15 games, and they have a total of 30 goals in that time. In fact, they've scored in all 8 qualifying games and have scored in 22 straight qualifying games, going back to 2022 World Cup qualifying as well, and that's if you just take out 1 playoff game where they did lose 5-0 against Ukraine in 2019. But in qualifying, they're usually always great for a goal. Now, of course, this is not qualifying. This is the real thing at the Euros. But defensively is where Serbia usually struggle. They've allowed a goal in 15 of their last 19 games. Now, in their last 10 games, bets on over 2.5 have also gone 8-2, which makes sense for a team that can score but cannot defend well. Runners-up in 2020/2021, England were first in their qualifying group at 6-2-0. They scored 22 goals and they allowed just 4. England arrives in Germany with a loaded roster up front, but plenty of defensive questions to worry about. Harry Maguire is out. Lewis Dunk missed their last game. Luke Shaw may not recover from a hamstring injury he suffered during the EPL in time for their Euros. And John Stones had to be subbed out with an injury last week versus Iceland, but should likely be okay to play. There's a lot of defensive questions for Gareth Southgate there. That Iceland game was a 1-0 loss, and that makes England just 1-2-2 in their past 5, so that's not great form or confidence to have coming into this tournament. They only have a 3-0 win over Bosnia and Herzegovina in that time. Having not won a major tournament since 1966, questioning England's ability to win the Euros as the top favorites in this tournament certainly is fair, but they should still be expected to win this game against Serbia. Let's go England to win, and you could go England to score simply over 1.5 goals, minus 163, or England to win and score over 1.5 goals at minus 125, Both good options. Certainly England should win this game. Let's go England win over 1.5 goals for our prediction for this game. Moving along to Romania and Ukraine in our Euros predictions here. There have been no meetings between these sides. It's a 4-3 Ukraine win in a friendly way back in 2016. Ukraine have a ton of impressive results in recent years. Going back to 2021, they have a 1-1 draw with France, 3-3 draw with Germany, 1-1 with England, 2-1 loss to Italy, 0-0 with Italy, 0-0 with Germany, as well in a friendly just recently as June 3rd. Ukraine was third in their qualifying group, and they needed a playoff win to get here over Bosnia and Herzegovina 2-1 and Iceland 2-1, where they were behind, needed to fight back to get late wins. But being behind England and Italy in their qualifying group is nothing to be ashamed of. Also, when you consider the fact they obviously had no true real home games during qualifying, it's another feather in their cap to have made it this far. Their three recent friendlies were 0-0 with Germany, a 3-1 loss to Poland, and a 4-0 win over Moldova. Ukraine have scored a goal in 11 of their last 13 games. Andrei Lunin had a great season with Real Madrid as a backup keeper who got some time towards the later stages of the season. And Artem Dovnyuk won the top scorer award, the Pichichi, for scoring the most goals in Spain with 24 goals. So certainly they have some stars on their team. Their opponents here, Romania, ended 2023 in good form, being 7-4-0, undefeated in 11. But since the calendar has turned to 2024, they've yet to win and will come into the Euros winless in 4 games. They had a 1-1 draw with Northern Ireland, a 3-2 loss to Colombia, and 0-0 draws with Bulgaria and Liechtenstein to warm up for the Euros. The odds are against Romania, going far in Germany, but they were first in their qualifying group at 6-4-0, scoring 16, allowing just 5, and allowing just 3 goals from open play, and even beating Switzerland out for top spot in their group. I could see both teams to score possibly hitting here, or just Ukraine to get the win. I think Ukraine has a chance to get into the knockouts and possibly pull some upsets here. So let's go Ukraine to win between Romania in this Euros best bet. It's Belgium and Slovakia in Matchday 1 Euro 2024 action. Belgium coasted in qualifying at 6-2-0, scoring 22 goals and allowing just 4. Romelu Lukaku led all scorers in qualifying with 14 goals, and Belgium hasn't lost in 15 games. Man City's Jeremy Doku will also be a player worth watching. He kept improving as the EPL season wore on and should be an exciting talent for Belgium. In their last 14 games, they've scored 33 goals, and while the defense is usually the concern for Belgian sides, they do have clean sheets in 5 of 6 games, albeit all versus some lower-ranked teams. Slovakia comes in off 4-0 wins over San Marino and Wales, and they are 9-1-3 of late. The 3 losses in that time were 1-0 and 3-2 to Portugal and 2-0 to Austria. So some of those defeats, no shame in some of those defeats, but in the only 3 games versus fellow Euro teams in this tournament, they did lose all those games. The 2 shutouts in those 2 losses are the only 2 games in 13 where they didn't score. Now, overbettors would be loving the Slovaks. They've gone 6-3 to over 2.5 totals in their games. Slovakia tied their most qualifying wins in a campaign ever with 7, but outside of Portugal in their group, teams like Bosnia and Herzegovina, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Luxembourg are all outside of even the top 70 top-ranked nations in the FIFA rankings. There's little history here, with the last game being 2-1 Belgium in a friendly way back in 2013. The other 2 games were 1-1 in 2002 and 2006 friendlies. For me, Belgium should win this game. Let's go Belgium to win and score over 1.5 goals, a -138 odds. One of the tournament favorites, France, will play Austria in Matchday 1 action. And for Austria, they drew a tough group alongside France and Netherlands, but they are many people's picks to be a dark horse team in this tournament, pull some upsets, and make a deep run. Austria was second in their qualifying group, just 1 point back of Belgium, and they even drew the Red Devils 1-1 in that time as well. Previous Man U and RB Leipzig coach Ralf Rangnick has Austria playing very high pressing style, saw them have the highest dual win rate and second most average high turnovers per game, only behind Spain of any nation during qualifying. Austria has just 1 loss in 16, that being a 3-2 loss to Belgium. They've scored in 17 straight games, and in their last 5 games, they have a 2-0 win over Germany, 2-0 win over Slovakia, 6-1 win over Turkey, 2-1 win over Serbia, and 1-1 draw with Switzerland, all teams that will be participating in the Euros this year. But France will be a different animal, as Blues have reached the final in 3 of the past 4 major soccer tournaments. They arguably have the best player in the world in Kylian Mbappe, who was 3rd in qualifying, scoring with 9 goals. In qualifying, France were first in the group at 7-1-0. They scored 29 goals and conceded just 3. France stumbled in their final tune-up game, drawing Canada 0-0 on Sunday, which would have been unexpected. But since that PK loss to Argentina in the World Cup, they are 10-2-2, but do have 2-1 and 2-0 losses to Germany. since that time. It's likely, if things go to plan, they would meet Germany in a potential semifinal on that side of the bracket. Between these sides, there are only 2 recent games that they've played. Both were in the 2022 Nations League with a 1-1 draw and a 2-0 France win. For me, obviously, France is favored, and they should win this game, but I think Austria can keep this game close as well. So for me, there's a couple options. You could go Austria plus 1.5 on the Asian handicap, so just to not lose by more than 1 goal. Now, that will only come in at minus 175, but I think as more props come out, you could add in some different options. Perhaps it's Austria plus 1.5, Mbappe to get a shot, or 2 shots. It could be different ways to add in some same-game parlay options once the player props come out. There's all kinds of ways to add some value into some of these bets as the markets open up. There's things like same-game parlay options for the team with the most shots, the most corners, both teams to get a card, etc., etc. So I think even though Austria plus 1.5 minus 175 might not be great odds, you could sprinkle in some other options into a same-game parlay to get that price a little bit better in your Euros prediction for this game. Turkey meets Georgia in Matchday 1 action at Euro 2024. This is obviously not one of the higher profile matchups, with Turkey ranked 40th and Georgia 75th in the FIFA rankings. Between them, there are no meetings since a 2012 friendly won 3-1 by Turkey. Turkey was impressive in qualifying, winning their group 5-2-1, but scored 14 while allowing 7. They did finish 1 point above Croatia, though, to win the group, which is impressive. Their history in this tournament, though, isn't great, as they've lost 6 of their past 7 matches, and they've kept just 1 clean sheet in 12 games, which was back in 2016. They had been in okay form at 12-2-3, but in their past 5 games, Turkey are 0-2-3, so don't come in high spirits here. In 2024, they have losses to Hungary, 1-0, Austria, 6-1, Poland, 2-1, and a 0-0 draw with Italy. So goods and bads there. Drawing the defending champs is okay, but no wins versus all tournament teams in that sample size is also not great. But then if we go back to 2023, they did beat Germany 3-2 in a friendly in November, and Croatia 1-0 in October in qualifying. So Turkey just could be a wild card in this tournament. They've tied with Albania and Slovakia as the biggest long shots to win the title at 501 at Bet365. The Crusaders of Georgia were the only team to qualify with a negative goal differential, -6 in qualifying. During their qualifying, their 1.75 XGA per game was 36th out of the 50 teams in qualifying, and that comes in ranked as the worst amongst all qualified teams. Now, they were actually 4th in their group, so really unlikely to be in the Euros at all, but they made the playoff through their participation in the Nations League. They're here in their first major tournament after beating Luxembourg 2-0 and Greece in PKs after a 0-0 draw in those March playoffs. Since that time, they beat Montenegro 3-1. The form guide will show Georgia is 16-4-5 in their past 25, which obviously is a good record, but there are a lot of wins there versus lower tier sides, including 2 over Gibraltar in the Nations League, who are outscored 41-0 in Euro qualifying. If Georgia is to have any success, much will be on the shoulders of star man Kvishka Kvaratskhelia of Napoli, who led them in scoring in qualifying with 4 goals and 1 assist. For what it's worth, Georgia comes in at 5-1-1, with the non-wins being 2-2 versus Scotland and 3-1 loss versus Spain in recent games, though they did beat Greece in PKs as well. I picked Turkey to go through as the second-place team in this group, and if that's going to happen, it likely will need a win here over Georgia. So let's go Turkey to win at -134 in this Euros prediction. The final game of Euros Matchday 1 action is Portugal and Czechia. Portugal were first in their qualifying Group J at 10-0-0, scoring 36 and allowing just 2. They were the only team to win all of their qualifying games. They scored the most goals and they allowed the fewest goals in qualifying. Granted, they played in a division that included Slovakia, Luxembourg, Iceland, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Liechtenstein, which is not the strongest group. Portugal ended 2023 on a 10-game winning streak, all in qualifying games to get here. In 2024, they beat Sweden 5-2, then lost 2-0 to Slovenia, beat Finland 4-2, lost again to Croatia 2-1, and then won 3-0 versus the Republic of Ireland on Tuesday. In only one time in 15 games has Portugal not scored, and in 11 of those 15 games, they've scored multiple goals. Czechia also comes in high spirits with only 2 losses across their last 16 games. They've scored plenty of goals lately with 16 goals scored across their last 5 games, but they have allowed a goal in 4 straight and also in 11 of 15. They also lost 3-0 to Albania in October, tying Albania for first in their qualifying group, but being seeded second. It's the Czechs' 8th straight Euros, and they reached the quarterfinals in the last tournament in 2020-21 with Jaroslav Salahi stepping down in November. It's round 2 for Ivan Hasek in charge of Czechia as their manager, so they have a relatively new coach, even though he's been there before, but a new coach taking over in the past number of months. There are only 2 recent meetings between these teams, with Portugal winning 4-0 and 2-0 in the 2022 Nations League, and I'm making a similar prediction this time here. Portugal has a loaded roster. They're one of my picks to reach the final that I talked about in the futures video, linked here at the end of this video. They're loaded with stars, even without mentioning 39-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, who was second in qualifying goals amongst all players with 10, and he who leads the Euros in all-time scoring. He also just scored 2 more goals in Tuesday's friendly win as well. Let's go Portugal to win and to score at least 2 goals. So Portugal and over 1.5 coming in at -120 for the best bet in this game. So there we have a breakdown of every Matchday 1 game from Friday going to Tuesday. And while I like all of these picks, 12 bets on the opening round of the tournament is just not the way I want to manage the bankroll. So let's break some of these games down into 3 different parlay variations of some of the picks we just talked about. Parlay number 1, let's go Germany to win over Scotland. They might get scored on. They should at least win. They are at home in their opening game. Then let's go Hungary versus Switzerland, under 3.5 in a game I think should be tight. Spain and Croatia, also under 3.5 in another game I think should be tight. That will get you -103 odds in that parlay. Parlay number 2, Netherlands should beat Poland. They usually always beat Poland. I think Poland should be 4th in this group. They're missing Lewandowski. And let's pair that with an England win over a poor defensive team like Serbia. So Netherlands and England to win, coming in at +126 odds. And as we move on to the later games of Matchday 1, we'll go Ukraine to score. I think they could be a feisty team. They do have the top scorer in Spain right now in Dovnik. Let's just ask them to get 1 goal. Belgium and Slovakia over 1.5. Both of these teams playing a lot of high-scoring games. And then Portugal to beat Czechia, one of the favorites of the tournament, and had a loaded roster. I think they get the win. So Portugal to win, Belgium, Slovakia over 1.5, Ukraine to score, coming in at +141 odds. Now that wraps up my Matchday 1 picks and parlays for the Euros. You can see all of the leans and predictions for every game and the parlay picks at the end of this video in the graphic. If you're looking for a new sportsbook to make your Euros bets, be sure to check out my link, signupexpert.com/shredthespread to get the best bonus at all the top sportsbooks around. And let me know how you're betting Matchday 1, who you have winning the Euros, and all of your Euros best bets down there in the comments. Good luck. Be sure to follow the channel for more Euros, Copa America, and MLS content coming soon.